Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I welcome Jamie York back for a second time. I think the last time we spoke, Jamie, was during COVID, the lockdown, I believe.
It would have been, about a year and a bit ago, I think.
Yeah, joined the Nightly's roundtable where we discussed a lot of topics around deal sourcing and property as a whole. And it's awesome to have you back, Jamie. So thank you very much for taking the time out. Now, just so everyone can kind of know, it's going to be in the title, but we're going to be talking about property and then moving on to YouTube, which is kind of going to tie into the whole marketing of what's needed really to elevate your brand anyway. So it kind of comes hand in hand, I believe. So to kick things off, we're at the back end now of 2021. There's been a lot of changes due to COVID within the property market. And what I kind of want to do is just a very quick reflection on what you think this year has brought us. But I want to then start, where do we go into 2022, starting almost from someone who may be new. So what's kind of your reflection in 2021 in the property market, Jamie?
Well, the 2021 has been a hard year, I think. I think it's been a really tough year. And, you're mixed in with the fact that you've had so much government stimulus and in such a confusing time as well. So you've had the B bills, the C bills, the stamp duty relief, first time buyers and the 5% mortgages, and a lot of different changes in the property market as well. So you've still got the tax changes finally into full effect. You've got Brexit that actually come into execution, which people just seem to completely ignore, whilst entering the boom phase of the 18-year property cycle as well, which a lot of people seem to just completely gloss over. And so there's so many macroeconomic things going on and coming to an end very abruptly as well. So furlough was the other one. So suddenly B bills, for those that don't know, it's free money basically from the government, up to 50 grand, I think it was, if you're turning over 200,000. And so what happened is a load of sudden companies were earning £200,000. What a shock, right? And obviously they were full of shit. And the problem is that all sounds okay and it's all easy to do until you realize £800 a month paying it back is actually quite a stomp for a lot of people. So you suddenly see that coming to an end. So even the legitimate people that borrowed it, they're thinking, Jesus, that's a lot of money to pay back. That's like one of my staff members maybe. And so that's putting pressure on them quite a lot. Then you've got furlough coming to an end. So that's putting pressure on business owners a lot. And obviously unemployment's expected to rise from that. You've had inflation increase to 4.8% and 5%. So, all of these have a massive impact on everything coming in. And so it's been a confusing time. And that's not just for beginner property investors. I think it's for experienced property investors as well, because a lot of people don't understand economics. Just because they're a good investor and they can analyze a property, that's micro in the grand scheme of things. You can be the worst property investor in the world right now, and you're likely to make money over the next 4 years. It's like when you buy at the bottom of the recession, you can pay 10 grand over what the market's worth at the bottom of a recession, you're making money, right? So the exciting thing, whilst it is difficult and the competition is there, is if you buy into the 18-year property cycle, which I take it with a pinch of salt, but 300 years of analysis is quite a lot to just ignore it, I would say, is we've got until 2026, with some fairly significant growth. So whilst it's a tumultuous time to get in and a complex time to get involved in property, I actually think it's a really exciting time. And my stance is I'm going to be buying as much as I possibly can in the right way. I'm not going to be a motivated buyer, but I'm going to be aggressive and assertive in my purchasing decisions for at least the next 3 to 4 years. And then I'm probably going to think about drawing out capital, building up my war chest, refinancing at a decent margin, keeping safe with a good loan to value, so that 2026, 2027, when that inevitable crash, who knows when it will actually happen, but will come in, and then I'll start at the bottom of the cycle again and just carry on from there. So yeah, they're my initial blah coming out there for people to listen to.
Well, it's an awesome reflection, and I agree with a lot of that. And also, I think you hit home there where you said it can be quite confusing. And anyone watching this, I want this to be sort of real like layman terms, because I know I've had conversations where people are quite confused about, everything that's happened with the property market. It's almost left them in a position, especially if they're beginners, almost, well, what do I do? Have I missed out on the stamp duty, the bounce? Should I have taken use? So on that reflection, for those that might be in a situation, they might even be a good investor, I don't know, but like you said, not a lot of people understand economics, but going into 2022, where is their opportunity now? And what's happened this year? How does that sort of set someone who's potentially looking at buying? And the first topic is their first buy to let or getting on the property ladder. What opportunity do they have in the new year?
Got you. Okay. So I think what's going to divide people is, are you going to be proactively searching yourself, or are you going to be utilizing other people? I'll make the assumption that people are looking for their own buy to let property. I think the opportunity is evening out from the mean. And what I mean by that is if you look at the average property price, it's what, 270 odd thousand now. Is crazy, right? So in general, long-term play here, as long as you buy below that in a good location, you're pretty good, because everything pushes towards that average over time. It's why you see places like Darlington and the Northeast that just a few years ago, you pick up a property for 50, 60 grand. Now you're struggling to get it for 100, because everything attracts to that. Okay. So it's really important to understand those averages, because in general, that's where you're going to be safe. I think the other thing, the opportunity that's really been brought to us is a shift in psychology. So I mean this from two angles, where estate agents where 95%, 96%, if you count online estate agencies, were where all of the vendors went to sell their properties, right? So where that's changed is from the last lockdown, where actually estate agents completely shut down. They completely shut down for a good couple of months, 3-4 months. And so these people still need to sell their property. And so suddenly they were forced to go elsewhere. And so the idea of doing deals directly with people is slightly less alien now. Yeah. And so the conversations we've been having have completely shifted, because suddenly it's this thing of like, before it'd be like, oh, is this legit? Because people don't buy direct. In America, it's quite common, but in the UK, that's really strange. It's really strange. Whereas now it's become more acceptable. But where it gets really exciting is outside of that, because yeah, you're thinking about your first buy to let, but I'm really assuming you're thinking of your first buy to let to get your second, to get your third, to scale a portfolio. And I'm sure we've all heard this term, your network is your net worth and everything like that, right? But the reality is that the bigger your access to capital, the easier it is to fund deals. And not just this, people don't think about this, if you're searching for a 15% deal, 15% return on your capital left in the deal, why does it have to be 15? Well, it could be because you want an insane return on your property, and 15% is brilliant. But it might also be because your cost of borrowing is at 10% from private investors. Well, what if you could get capital at 5%? You could then buy properties at a 10% return and get the same, a 10% return and get the same net return as before. Does that make sense? Yeah. So this shift in psychology, the way it's gone really well, I think, is investors. See, raising money before was all about going to meet, wining, dining, even if it was a coffee, going for lunch, dinners, all of this sort of thing. Even some of the bigger investors out in the UAE and things, it would be, yeah, you'll come and fly out and meet us, fly them there. And we're talking 500,000 plus investors that are going to lend there. Now, a Zoom call. The great thing about this is it's made the world more virtual. And from a business perspective, that means the world's just got even smaller, because that lasting bit of psychology where I like to meet a guy, I like to meet a girl face to face, I like to feel their skin on a handshake. You couldn't do that. So suddenly we're making multi-million-pound deals, multi-million-pound deals without ever physically meeting people. And I think that's the real opportunity that you've got here. And the word unprecedented has been bandied around a lot over the last couple of years as we've been going through this. But I think the opportunity comes from those that seize the change. And seizing that opportunity is what most of us don't do. Change terrifies people, but change creates opportunity. And so I feel like I'm saying this every year, but I genuinely feel there's more opportunity than ever was. And what happens now is, and you may have felt it if you're active in the market, is the last couple of months, that sort of upwards curve has sort of faltered a little bit. Do I think there's going to be a recession and a massive downturn crash next year? No, I don't personally. but I do think there's going to be a softening in the market or a slowdown in the market. And this is where the opportunity comes, because prices going up or down actually is fairly irrelevant. That's not really what causes it to be difficult or to make money. What it is the speed of transactions. So the reason people were coming direct to vendor off market deals is they wanted speed. But the need for speed has been facilitated by estate agents, because when they open back up, the backlog come in. Okay, so they were clogged. But now that clog is actually taken up quite a lot. The stamp duty relief for all of those buyers has gone. So suddenly they've started slowing down a bit more. No longer is a property going on this morning and selling by this evening. Suddenly there's properties on the market again that are lasting a week or two. Mm-hmm. And that might not seem huge, because pre-COVID, you could spend a month getting your builder out there, all of that. But that's real golden time. And now, if you've been trying in the market, you've got used to day, 2 days. Now you've got a week or two. It's all the time in the world. So you mix that additional time that you've got with the virtual reality that we're playing with and the virtual playground that now we're now operating in. I think it's going to be a really exciting 2022.
And it's funny, actually. I mean, we certainly won't get into this sort of filming here, but the metaverse in the future of what that could look like. I mean, that could be. I mean, I've been researching the metaverse for quite a while now, and I mean that brings a whole nother. But that is another conversation for another time. But a couple of points you picked up there, just to go over for anyone watching, is I think you picked up on a really good point. It used to be almost, what the hell is going on if someone went direct to vendor? It was almost spooky. You know, they'd be like, oh, you're not a professional body. You must be, you know, a bit of a Dell boy. But actually, people, you know, when they took a back seat. So I think, like you said, just to reiterate, that's a big opportunity for people that are willing to get off the couch and actually get moving. And the change that's happening, like you say, the Zoom call. So really to go over for anyone watching is that absolutely, like, calls like this on Zoom calls where you can raise that finance. And I suppose on that, what I want to touch on with you is, you know, there's this desire to get on the property ladder as soon as possible, but people are living normal lives. So for that person, that man or woman that has a family, has a little bit of capital in the bank, they may rent their house, they may own it. What's the best steps? What's kind of your top 3 or 4 or 5 tips for someone looking to get on the property ladder in the realistic way, you know, an everyday person?
An everyday person. Okay. So first of all, like, don't be a motivated buyer. And what I mean by that is, when things like Help to Buy come out, like it's marketed that way, but it's Help to Sell. Okay, what that does when people do that, and this is basic human psychology, we want everything now, and therefore we analyze everything now. If you practice deferred gratification, you'd understand long-term impacts of things more. So what you're looking at is, can I afford the deposit? Okay, that's and it's not just you watching, it's all of us, right? So we all do it. Can I afford the deposit? Not, how does the monthly cost impact me over the long term? So suddenly you've got these people that had no right buying a £200,000 house, suddenly buying a £270,000 house. And then they're shocked that they feel a little bit squeezed each month. And this is when the interest rates are at some of the lowest they've ever been. You wait until the next 5 years where they go up a good few percentage points. That's going to wipe a lot of people out. Or goodbye holidays, goodbye family meals, goodbye takeaways, goodbye beers with the lads, whatever it is. And so don't rush or overexpose yourself. I do think getting on the property market is a smart idea. And the thing is, we can talk about macroeconomics and whether it's going to go up and down until we're blue in the face, right? But the reality is, the long term of property is it's going up. Okay, whether you believe it's an 18, a 50 or 100 year, it's going up consistently. And especially as we're on this tiny island. So getting on the market is important. If it is something where you want to make some money from it, then, you know, take advantage of the tax breaks as well. Because if it's your personal residence, you know, under PRS, you don't have to pay any capital gains tax, for example. So for me, I'd be going for a nice area, but a rundown property. Not too rundown that you have to pay cash, but enough where you're like, you know what, I can get in this, I can add some works, and it might not be your forever home, but realistically, you're going to add value to the property. It's a good area, so you're always going to have buyers, and whatever profit you make, it's yours to keep. And I know people that have become millionaires in property, and that's how they started. They bought a 2-bed flat. They did it up, they sold it, they made a margin. Then they bought a 3-bed house. They did the same. And now they live in a ridiculous house and they just got bigger and bigger. And they've decided that's what it was, their home, that's what they wanted. But for those of you that are listening, you don't need to do that. It's okay to go up the ladder, get a nice bit of cash, then go back down the ladder for a bit and use the pot to invest. So I think you have to be reasonable as well. I think we've got this, and I know I'm a millennial saying this, but millennials are so pompous. And like, we've just got this mindset that we deserve everything now. And it's just like, where did this self-righteous arsehole attitude come from? It's like, grow up and work for something. So I hear things, and maybe this is an extreme example, like, I can't afford a property in my area anymore. It's like, cool, work harder or move out of your area. Yeah. Like, we're nomads now, like we will happily travel around the world and sleep in hostels. But the idea of moving 10 miles down the road away from family. And then I heard a millennial say this, and it's not just millennials, by the way, we're all like this, but I do notice millennials, my age group, saying a lot, where it's like, I shouldn't have to do that. It's like, well, we live in a capitalist society, and the fact that you're a buy-to-let investor and you're thinking in a socialist way probably isn't going to work out. So look, I think it's okay to move out of area. I think it's okay to slum it for a bit. And honestly, the house you're in isn't going to make you happier or sadder. Like it, I'm a big believer in Stoic philosophy, and actually it's your context of the situation. Some of my happiest days has been living in a room eating pasta with cheese every night. I was so grateful for the fact I didn't put on any weight. Now I could only dream of eating pasta and cheese. All right. And so it's all contextual. So I think lower your standards a little bit. Take something on where you're going to benefit from an uplift. So buy in a great area, but buy the cheapest thing you can find in that area. People always like are drawn to the best house. It's like, no, buy the worst house in the best street. Okay. Add a load of value, get the tax benefit. And genuinely, people say life is short. And it is. It's a precarious position we're in, but life is actually pretty long. And you've got years and years and years. And people like, look at me, oh, you're so young. At 30, I turned 30 on the 7th of November, so 11 days ago. And it's like, well, really, I doubled down on this 7 years ago. 7 years is not a long time. And it is. You can achieve a lot in 7 years. But most of my wealth has come in the last 3 years. The 4 years before that were laying the foundations. Yeah.
It is funny though, isn't it? Because just on that, I mean, I've just turned 29, and I would only say really in the last few years, it's just started paying off the last 8 years of work. So it's funny, but like you say, instant gratification, not a lot of people. And I do not think, and we're actually going to get onto this, but do not think that's because of how much we're exposed to in the sense of social media. It's all done overnight. Everything, like everyone's a millionaire overnight. Do you not think it's, you can get trading 212 free trade. Everyone can invest like that. It's too instant.
Well, everything nowadays is about reducing friction, isn't it? And we're also impressionable. The great thing is, what that does for those of us that can be patient is there's fewer of us. This is why you see it in our world as well. Like, obviously I run my own training, so maybe I'm a bit like, I know it's a bit weird talking from both angles, but you see people signing up to training left, right, and center. And there are some trainers out there that make it sound like a get rich quick scheme, which is full of shit. It's like, if you want to get rich quick, stay away from property. It's a bloody nightmare, and it's slow. It's get rich slow. That's the only way I can describe it. You get rich, by the way, 100%, but it's slow. But no matter what you tell people, a lot of people do think they're going to go on a training course for a weekend and then suddenly be a millionaire next year. And the reason that's great for those of us with a dose of reality in us and people that can implement an action patience is those people fall off. And actually, success, number one, it leaves clues. You don't need to reinvent the wheel here. Just model yourself off of somebody else and do it consistently. And will it be shit? Yeah. Will you have ups and downs? Yeah. Will you regret starting? Several times every single bloody month. I guarantee you, when you're a multimillionaire, I still have that. I still have it where I'm like, what am I doing? Like, is it really worth it?
Yeah.
But the one key to success is time. And I think it was an interview with Warren Buffett. It was like, what makes you so successful? It's like, I'm older than everyone else. And everyone sort of laughed along. It's like, no, I'm being serious. It was like, there are better investors out there than me. There are people that get better returns. I can't keep up with them. They're more savvy than me. They understand information better than me now because I'm getting old. But the difference is I've been in it longer than most people. And so it's embracing the power of compounding. People use it as a nice little quote, don't they? Compounding, the eighth wonder of the world. It's like, no, don't underestimate compounding. If you want to really understand it, look at the penny thing. You know, when you double a penny, 1, 2, 4 every single day, and it goes 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, and it goes and goes. And I think it's by day 30, you've got like £3 million. Your brain doesn't understand compounding. It can't mathematically understand compounding. It only understands 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So what you really need to do is get a spreadsheet, go 1 pence, and then the cell under equals 1 pence times 2 equals 2 pence times 2, and then drag that box down and see how quickly you can grow. So yes, I do think it's the world around us, Aaron, but I also think that's the difference between winners and losers, isn't it? Is that losers are gonna, and I don't mean losers and you're a loser overall, but people that tend not to be successful often spend their time justifying their actions, the way they think, by external realities. And often people that are successful, they realize their external realities doesn't really need to have an impact on their success and what they do on a daily basis.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I agree with absolutely everything you've just covered off there. And that is probably why they call it the 1%, because less competitors, people, like you said, they drop off. And I suppose now we're going to tie this into, we're going to go on to the next topic, which is kind of going more into the marketing, branding, and we're going to cover YouTube, which again goes in hand in hand. So for those of you that are watching for the property purposes, stick around, because actually what Jamie's doing on YouTube, which is what we're going to touch on now, also can reflect on what you may need to do in terms of branding. So Jamie, obviously you've taken off on YouTube in the sense of how quick you've grown and all around property. What has YouTube been like in terms of helping your business, your own property portfolio, and also as another income, which you can use as investing, you know, those 3 points?
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. It's been really, really positive. Hard work as well, really hard work. In terms of the payoff, I'll have a full analysis at the end of this year, but my guess would be about £500,000 profit from this calendar year, January to December. Not direct, I'll break it down in a moment. I'm more than happy to break down numbers, but including indirect revenue that we've tracked. And obviously there'll be lifetime client value and stuff like that that comes from it. So it's been interesting. I approached it like everything else. So first of all, I decided whether I'm going to play at it or go all in. And I was very clear I was going to go all in. Now, the reason why I picked YouTube is it's not social media, it's a search engine. And it's so important if you're going to go on YouTube that you understand that. So the reason why social media is great is you get in front of people fast, quick, ready. The downside is nobody, or some people do, but nobody's really scrolling through my Facebook feed and watching a live I did 3 months ago. If you are, stop doing it. It's weird. All right. So it's all about instant gratification, right? Whereas YouTube, because it's searchable, they're finding you all the time. So a really good example of this, if I have a look now on my stats, my most popular video is a video called Buy to Let Basics. So it's got 224,000 views, which is great. It was posted in what's the date? Oh, it's 18th of November now. It's posted 16th of November, 2020. So 1 year ago and 2 days. It's still getting about 500 views a day. So as an example, so 1,255 views in the last 48 hours.
And if you don't mind me asking on that video, Jamie, because people will be wondering, and I did this with another guest of mine, is what does that one video generate you?
That one video.
Asset.
So that one, bear in mind, it's my best one. It's gained me 224,900 views, 34,500 watch hours, 12,200 subscribers. So nice. And direct revenue from YouTube, £4,126.
That's awesome. So there you go. That's good motivation for anyone who's watching this.
Yeah, it's brilliant. And do you know the interesting thing is, I knew that you could earn money directly from YouTube, but I didn't really do it for that, because when I was Googling it, it seemed to be the average you get paid per 1,000 views roughly as an average. And it's all about if people watch the ads that YouTube just decides to put on it. And the average was saying $3. And I thought, okay, so I'm not going to earn much from that. But actually, because that's the average, you've got bloody prank channels that get 3 cents or whatever. So with us, because we're in the investment niche, talking about money, talking about property, the people that are looking at those videos are more valuable to people that put ads on that.
Yeah.
So because of that, I think I'll have a look whilst we're talking, but I think it's about $18 or something.
And just while you're looking up that, is for anyone watching, I just want to go over that, you just hit the nail on the head, and this is where people get confused. It is a search engine, and actually this ties into SEO, doesn't it? This is a good side on for your business. I mean, how much, for anyone watching this, also YouTube, you just said it, you're going to generate clients. It's a new income. It adds to your compound effect of everything else you've got going on in your business.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. So my average is £17.44 RPM, which is my revenue per mille, which is per 1,000 views. I'll get £17.44. So that's pretty good, right? A lot higher than I'd ever expected, if I'm completely honest. So then, but then there's the off cuff of that. So because it's searchable, what that does is people search more and more and more and more and more. And then I've just focused on that. I'm in the process of sorting out my website. But then what that will do is, because if you don't know this, Google owns YouTube, who hosts most of the websites, Google, and shows it all. Most people go on Google. So what it does is it ranks you up. So then when you want to say, I don't know, attract buy-to-let investors, for example, then your website will come up first when they type in, how do I invest in property? And you're not even paying for an ad. So it's that sort of thing. And then naturally people find you on other platforms. So I use YouTube as my main awareness channel. I use Instagram as my main communication channel. And then I extract them from that and sort of get on the phone, email them, my team, obviously talk to them after that. So yeah, I've loved it. It's been hard work. You know, I did my research on it and looked at who the players were. So I know who the biggest is, the second biggest, all of those sort of things, and do a matrix of see where I'm at. Partly because of my ego, you know, being completely honest, stroking my ego a bit. But also it's good to know how well you're doing in comparison to how long other people have done. So, you know, I did my research there, and I understood and analyzed what videos people like, what people don't like. It can be frustrating, because some of my best videos that I think genuinely is gold, thinking, should I even put this out there? Because they should be paying for this, will get 500 views. Yeah. And then there'll be one like buy-to-let basics. Being honest, I was like, shit, I've not done a video. I need to plan it. It took me 10 minutes to think. And I just spoke about it. And it's got 200 and something thousand. And it's like, I mean, I'm not moaning. I'm glad I've got it. But yeah, that's
always the way, isn't it? Do you not find, I mean, I found that with some of my videos, scripts planned out, and it doesn't even touch the sides. And actually, I think it was Damien Talks, who I interviewed, said it just comes down to the more shit you throw against the wall, something will stick. It's just quantity over quality, actually. What do you reckon? I'm half and half on that.
Do you know, it's interesting because Gary Vaynerchuk has that as well. Grant Cardone definitely has that. I think that is true when you're a bigger channel or a brand new channel. Yeah. When you're in the middle, I actually disagree with that, because it's about quality and quantity. So I'm putting out videos, and you get different purposes for your videos as well. I'll put out a video that is for my subscribers. I know it's not going to explode at all. And then there's other ones that are a bit more clickbaity to attract more subscribers, like how to get started in property with as little as £1,000. It's like, yeah, that's going to attract a lot of people, right? And then it's, how can I make that video to what people are expecting? Because they're expecting pay for a course. And it's like, a lot of people will say pay for a course. Don't fucking do that. If you've got £1,000, this is what you need to do. You know, so it is quantity at the start. And one thing with marketing that you really need to understand is you don't decide what makes good content, because you don't have a clue. You're one person. Like, think how stupid that is. You deciding, you want an audience of thousands of people, right? How can one person decide what thousands of people want? You don't. So you have to put a load of random shit out there, and you need to see what's there. So, you know, maybe plan out 20 different how-to videos. Keep it simple, get them posted. One a week, twice a week, whatever it is, and then book in a day to analyze them. And
Yeah.
you will find commonalities in your most successful videos, your most success, and all social media is the same, by the way. Analyze what's working, analyze what people are saving, what are people liking. And people go, likes are for ego. Yeah, but no, likes directly don't make you money, but engagement does, because if people are engaging with you, it shows their interest in you. So if you did a post that got 100 likes, good, post it again in 6 months, because nobody will remember it.
Yeah.
Use it again, repurpose it. And so, yeah, it is quantity, but the way you get quality from quantity is by analyzing it and finding the commonalities.
And do you know, it's what you were just saying there about people will forget about it. This is something where I think people don't want to re-put something out which they've already done. But you're saying, because that's something actually that's crossed my mind when I've been thinking, okay, I've done that video, it went quite well, but I've already done it. Perhaps what is it? It's just a slight twist. You just change it up slightly or make it more relevant.
Yeah. Okay. So I've told you my best video is buy-to-let basics. Okay. So what I've done is I've probably put out about 10 other buy-to-let basics videos, but they don't call it that. Buy-to-let for beginners. Your first 5 steps in buy-to-let. The first thing you want to do before buying your first buy-to-let. Don't buy a buy-to-let before watching this video. You know, and it's basically, there are little nuggets in each one, but it will be the same information. You know, it's the same as a book. You read a great book, yeah? You don't read it once, you read it again. And what you'll find is every time you read it, you're like, I don't remember it saying that, because you weren't ready to hear that information. So honestly, sometimes you need to listen to the same stuff about again. There's a book out by Google, and they said that they found with their staff, the average person needs to be told something 18 times before them to understand it. It's some of the smartest people in the world. So if they need to listen 18 times to get it, why do you think your audience is going to get it in one watch? So all you need to be thinking about is, okay, that went really well. How do I approach it with a different angle?
Yeah.
You know, and it could be it could be that it was posted 2 years ago. It did insanely well. And I've not done any of this yet, but I'm thinking out loud. Say it did insanely well, but it's dead now. Nobody seems to be searching it. You might, and say you look relatively similar, which the older you get, the more you look similar. Anyway, I guess we've aged a lot in the last 5 years, you know, and it will go worse every now and then. Hairs falling from my head to my face. So what you might do is delete that video or take it off YouTube and then repost it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no harm in doing that. It's marketing is all a test. And I think when you're talking about that quantity and throwing shit at a wall and see what sticks, I think where he might have been coming from is ego slows you down. So you're worried about, oh, will they like this? And there's videos that I've put out where I've been like, oh, I don't know about the edit there. It makes me a bit cocky and stuff like that. And guess what? I had some comments saying it's cocky, but I also had hundreds of comments saying, I love this style, love that. And it's like, cool. Imagine my ego getting in the way there, stopping me putting that out. That got a load of subscribers, made a load of money from it. And actually, nobody decides. It's all a test. And look, if it really goes diabolical, a Facebook Live, a Instagram post, whatever it is, then delete it. If it really went badly, but you'll probably find 99% of the ones you think will go shit, they go fine.
Yeah. And there's some awesome points there. And what I would say, I suppose, just my 2 pence at the end there is also looking at it. Well, any kind of socials you do, if you're looking to monetize, you need to see it as a business, because I know too many people that would love to monetize and make money, but they don't approach it as a business. And that's where I think that's where your shortfall, because you're not seeing the long term and the work that's going to need to go in this. I mean, if you could see the journey before, you'd probably go, bugger that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, even now, if you think about it, it's like, so without sounding like a knob, I value my time quite highly. To put out 3 videos a week, it takes 2 days of my time.
Yeah.
That's without editing. So that's 2 days a month. That's quite a lot. That's 1 in 15. That's a huge time commitment. And I'm paying out all of the equipment I've done, but I've hired staff now. So, you know, yeah, I'm making money from it now, but it wasn't at the beginning. Do you need all of that? No, you can do it from your iPhone and iMovie Pro on your Mac or whatever it is, or Adobe software. It's absolutely fine, Premiere. And but it is effort. And if you treat it like a side gig, or I'll do it every now and then, expect side gig and every now and then results. If you treat it like a business where you're setting in days to analyze, you're setting planning time for videos, it's just time, same as property, time in the market. And you will, all it takes is one video. Genuinely, one video goes big, and then suddenly they show it more. And that's the way the algorithm works. How many subscribers you got? 1,000. How many does it show it to? 100. Did they engage with it? Show it to the next 100. How many did they engage? Show it to more channels like yours. How many did they get? Oh, they didn't? Cool, we'll kill it then. But that's how it works. It builds up and builds up. And each time you do it, it builds up a bit more. And all it takes is one viral video, and viral could be 1,000 for you. It could be 100,000 for you. It doesn't really matter. That's what's going to attract people. The last thing I'd say as a tactical tip is don't expect people to do something just because they got value. You have to tell them. So I'm not saying every 5 minutes in the video, even if it's the end, hey, if you got value from this, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video. You have to tell people that. I've noticed a huge correlation between me asking for a like, asking for the subscribe, to when I didn't, and it's so huge. So tell people what you want them to do.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And Jamie, there has been some awesome points. I hope anyone that's watched this, well, I know anyone that would have watched this, and for the purpose of why we set this call up, is that there is a huge amount of value that's just come from this. And for anyone going into property, what we've just discussed there, they really do tie hand in hand. And not only that, Jamie, you are living proof of that. So if anyone doubts it, it's sitting there right in front of us. So Jamie, I can't thank you enough for coming back onto my channel, having this conversation. I learn a lot from it as well, which is awesome. So it's a big bonus for me. And Jamie, where can anyone sort of contact you or reach out and actually connect?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so obviously, if you're not on the channel already, just search Jamie York on YouTube. You can find me there, or Instagram, Jamie York Aspire, Aspire. Just give me a follow, hit me a DM, and more than happy to chat to anyone that's looking for help.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Jamie. And then perhaps we'll meet in London one day and we'll catch up then. So
no doubt we will, mate. Thanks very much for having me on.
Awesome. Cheers, buddy.
No worries, man.